Hi everyone, let's talk about Fuse Countdown, which I have just done a playthrough for, and I think more playthroughs will be forthcoming of it. Fuse Countdown, it's a standalone expansion, so you can just play this as its own game. You can mix it in with Fuse as kind of a modular thing as well. But yeah, the playthrough is there and you can see it all in action. There'll be links in the description if you haven't seen it yet. This is what I think of it if you are interested in that. So Fuse, if you've seen some of my older things, I did a playthrough for the original Fuse years and years ago. If you look at my top 10, it's a few years ago now, it might be a bit outdated, but Fuse is in the top 10. It is one of my favourite games of all time. I would say that certainly for number of plays, it is our most played game of all time. I think we're getting into maybe the 200s or so. We've kind of dropped off in skill level, no spoilers for the playthrough. We used to be the pros playing on the top difficulty and doing the variant where you had to clear all of the bombs out, not just clear the row and the deck out, do everything. We'd gotten to the point where we were masters at all of that stuff. Our skills have dulled a little bit, but also the game has gotten harder. So Fuse Countdown, if you just want the bottom line, absolutely amazing, absolutely adore it. Coming from someone loving Fuse though, I'm not really surprised. I'm very, very pleased though that it is here. Just that a new Fuse thing is out. Hopefully it will drive a load of people back to the original, or just this. Just that you're playing some form of Fuse is amazing for me. So yeah, it is a real-time game. It is putting a lot of pressure on you in those 2 minutes, especially as the difficulty starts to ramp up. That is kind of the biggest thing of you probably be aware of whether you're into real-time games or not there. But yeah, Fuse does really put the pressure on. I think some new things in Countdown really add to that as well. So we have got special abilities based on the characters that we're playing. I realise I'm not actually showing you any of those. So after you roll the dice, you can change the number of any one of those. Or you can change the colour of dice. Or before you roll, call out a colour. Any of those dice you could change the colour or the number of. Like, they're little tweaks to the things that we're rolling. So like in a 2-player game, we are rolling 4 dice. Each player's got to take 2 each. We've got all these bomb cards that we need to put dice on. In those 10 minutes, we need to defuse. We need to complete loads of these cards that want particular configurations of dice on them. And so being able to manipulate these dice once they've been rolled is a massive change. That's a massive boon to the players in one way, because rather than leaving you stuck with just what you've been given and, yep, I can't use those, I'm just going to have to take the punishment, now we can have some control over our destiny roll by roll. But the other side of that is it's taking up valuable time. When you just had no option and we just take the punishment, go to the next roll, just move on, the punishment can be bad for you. Now you can change things though. You have to spend time, deciding who's going to do that. There's already the time taken trying to decide who's going to take what die. Am I leaving you in a terrible situation if I just run in and take the 2 that I really need? What's the best compromise between these 2 things? You're trying to do that as quickly as possible still. But now, is this bad? Do I need to use my ability? What should I use it on? Should I use it to make it perfect for myself? But if I use it on you, I can take 2 dice. You can't take 2 dice. Not that it necessarily adds a massive amount to the decision time, but in the rounds that it does, that 10 minutes is ticking down every second that you're thinking about something and discussing something. So yeah, the pressure is even more apparent. The spark cards, the new kind of punishment for when you can't place dice on your cards. So previously, when you couldn't place a die on your cards, you would have to roll that die and remove a die matching the colour or number of the thing that you couldn't take from cards if you could. Instead of that now, we have these spark cards. So for every die that you couldn't place, you draw a spark card, and this is an extra, often easier bomb card that you need to handle. You can't win the game if these are still out in front of you. So throughout the game, you've always wanted to try and do the optimal thing so that you don't have to take any punishments, but it adds even more thought, especially towards the end of the game when those options are more and more limited anyway. You do not want to be taking 1, 2, several of these between you at the very end of the game when you're about to win, when you've hardly got any bombs to do. Suddenly we've got this massive laundry list of spark cards to handle as well, and it can just really compound from there. The bomb cards themselves, there are loads of lovely little tweaks, little new things on the cards that either on their own or mixed with the standard cards make a huge difference. So just normal things that any colour can go here. We need a 6 here, any number, a black or a yellow. But now this 6 has to be first. So rather than being, these are all the criteria, but we've got the freedom to put them in any order we want. This has got to be the first die. The red border means this is going to be the last die. There are cards with, simple criteria we've seen in the base game, but now, hey, no black dice can be put on this. So a matching set of colours and a 3, but none of them can be black. Cards requiring split dice and the split dice themselves. That's another thing to weigh up. You don't want loads of people getting cards that need a particular colour because, they might be locked up on other people's cards as they've taken them for those criteria, or they've just taken it because they need a 6. We're sitting here needing yellows and you're using them up just because you needed a 6. Now there are split dice to add into that. There's only a finite number of these, and these can be massively helpful in the normal cards that come out because they count as both colours. So if you need a blue in a particular space, hey, we can take this to do it. But if you've got a card that can't have reds on it, but it needs this as a blue, you can't take it because it's a split in that way as well. There's walls, so rather than just building up towers or multiple towers, this is how the wall will look like from a side-on view. There are ziggurats where you've got to put, 4 dice as the base layer, and then the last die goes on in the middle of them. Just some lovely new twists, some new kind of cards like this, or twists on the old ones, just works absolutely fantastically. I think those things, though, the spark cards, it makes the punishment so much more kind of dynamic and thematic as well, that, you've made a mistake, a spark has flown off from the bomb, and now we've got this extra thing to deal with. It's lovely having the rolls per game switching up as well, and, giving you a bit more scope of what to do, but at the same time costing you time with things to think about. The spark cards costing you time and dice getting in your way, stopping you winning until you've sorted those out. The split dice giving you more options, but again at the expense of time. I would say the difficulty level has maybe been raised just because of these things you need to think about, but it is that beautiful Fuse experience, bigger and better than before. Absolutely love it. So glad a new title has come out for it, and you can mix this in with normal Fuse as well. You can use any bit of Countdown as an extra module in the original Fuse, so you can just add split dice or spark cards or the new Fuse cards or just the roll cards if you want to, or you can combine the whole sets for a great big mega game. You don't use the rolls in that because the original Fuse stuff wasn't balanced for them to be in there. I think you removed the missions with the split dice as well, but you can combine it for one enormous thing. I want to be a pro bomb diffuser again. I want us to build up to those big difficulties and go back to the days of victories. But I'm just so glad really to be playing any form of Fuse again. There's usually, especially for games that I love, there's no real reason that I stop playing them. It's just that there are a million games that I need to do for various reasons. But I know how much I love Fuse. I know that hasn't died down, but it's another thing once it's out on the table again and you're back in that experience and reveling in all of the beautiful new stuff as well. I've probably gone on a bit too long. This might end up longer than the playthrough. But I love Fuse. I am absolutely massively biased to begin with because I adore the base game. It's one of my favourites, but Countdown adds some amazing stuff to it, and I would definitely recommend it whether you are a fan of the original or this is your first introduction to it. But the playthrough is there, you can see it all in action, and forget what I said. If you'd like to see some more playthroughs, there's another one for base Fuse. There are plenty on the channel though than things outside the Fuse family. Actually, speaking of the Fuse family, there's Flatline, a longer board game based in the same kind of storyline, the follow-on storyline. How do we treat the people that have been affected by these bombs? That's so good as well. I've got a playthrough for that too. But there are hundreds and hundreds of other playthroughs on the channel if you'd like to check more out. Thank you for watching this though, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye everyone.